Good morning and welcome to the 20th annual Heart to Heart Akron Speaks Out for Values breakfast. We're certainly glad to have you here today. I believe it is a record-setting attendance occurrence for us today as well. As Father Norm mentioned, I'm Dan Chackey. I'm privileged and honored to be the board chair for such a wonderful organization, and certainly honored to provide this morning's invocation. So if we could please bow our heads for just a few moments. Dear God, we have gathered here this morning to celebrate the community collaborations which make the Akron area such a wonderful place to live. We thank you for your support with the leadership, resources, families, and diverse relationships that are seeking to achieve and realize shared goals, objectives, and rewards. We call on you to assist these hardworking citizens who are dedicated to enhance our work and home lives as they continue with their valiant missions. We ask that you bless our food and those who prepared our meals this morning. May you also guide us and our loved ones as we continue to work together as a community that appreciates and incorporates quality values to achieve our common goals. For these things we pray. Amen. And speaking of decades of collaboration, I think our Honorable Mayor here is working on his third, so it gives me great pleasure to introduce our Honorable Mayor of Akron, Don Pliskwalek.
Thank you, Dan, and good morning. I was asked to bring a welcome, as I have at many of those 20 years, and I don't know, like maybe all of you or many of you, you have paid the price if you don't make it here each and every year. So if you've come here for the first time, you have to come from now on, because Father Norm is everywhere. I don't know how many of you felt conflicted already this morning. Normally it's about 9 o'clock before I'm conflicted. I was conflicted remembering my mother's strict rule not to speak with your mouth full, and then having a priest scream at you to say good morning with your mouth full. So Dan didn't write my jokes. What I really try to say, rather than welcome, is to take a few moments just to say thank you to Father Norm and Larry, not for just bringing us together to hear great speakers share, as Dan will, his story, but all of the things that they do throughout the year to try to make this community an even better one. I happen to think we're the most collaborative community in the country, and yet what they do to bring people together and assist us to do our work better and live our lives better is important work right here in this community. So as I welcome all of you and thank you for your support, I thank both of you for what you do to make Akron an even better place.
Good morning. My name is Kathy Shue, and I've had the privilege of being part of the breakfast committee. One of our first tasks was to select a theme for this event. And when we reflected on the last 10 years and what has propelled both the Heart to Heart organization as well as the greater Akron community to the exciting places that we find ourselves today, I mean, look at how many people are here, and to Don, to your point about Akron being the most collaborative city, I happen to agree with you. And importantly, as we think about the 10 years ahead of us, the word collaboration emerged mightily. And I think we all would be in heated agreement that whether it's at home, at work, or in the wider community, meaningful collaboration is a necessary ingredient to any successful recipe. We're delighted to share excerpts from 22 community leaders. Individually and collectively, they affirm this theme, and they challenge us to create and strengthen relationships that inspire and sustain us as individuals, as leaders, and as collaborators. A special thanks to our interviewers, and also a shout out to Dan Mosier and Mosier Media, and his team for gifting us with their time and talent to create this video, and for their continued support of the work of Heart to Heart Communications. Please think of them when you need high-quality video production work.
It's not about an award. It's not about something you can put on your resume. It's a greater good. And if people can get to that greater good, we're all better off.
Individuals to be able to say, you know, although I would like to be best in doing this, I recognize that I don't have everything it would take to do it.
So this kind of whole idea that we're all partial owners in this, that we're all working together for this, is a huge part of just the ownership view of a collaborative.
They need to bring their best ideas. They need to not be married to things that we've done in the past. And at the same time, you need some value to structure.
It's the listening that makes the difference. You stop, you allow someone else to express themselves, you weigh it, and you be open about your own feelings.
You have young people who are on fire, and you have people who bring all this knowledge and experience from years of working and being professionals. You have volunteers and clients, and then you have the social workers who are sitting next to CEOs around the table. And I think when we reached a certain level of diversity around the table, in the ways that I just described, is when we really started to see things move in the collaborative.
A belief that for each of us that, like, I don't have the answer, and a real commitment to collaboration, not just going through the motions of it, but really coming together and valuing the other people.
Any form of collaboration, especially if you're about the business of renewing something or starting something, you're going to hit a wall of resistance. And am I willing to commit that that wall, that resistance, is not going to deter me from getting to the goal that we've agreed to get to?
Akron does stand out as having some unique collaborative relationships. We are truly that collaborative city that we hear Akron purported to be. And that's evident in the relationships between local government and businesses and nonprofits.
The organizations got to know a little bit more about what each one of them did, and maybe were a little more sympathetic to some of their needs and wants. There were also things that if they would work together, there would be savings economically that made a lot of sense.
We were serving about 200 to 300 people, and at the height of the collaboration, we were serving over 3,000 individuals. So those were individuals who probably would not have been served. The other 2,700 individuals would not have been served had we not collaborated with our other partners.
Community responding and not leaving people behind.
People brought different strengths. Some people are big picture visionary, some people are strong in communication, some people can really help with the necessary practical details.
Through that collaboration, you think of things you never think of on your own. And you really then can identify new possibilities. And again, through working together, those possibilities become realities.
I saw so many people around the table doing more, and it made me do more. I wanted to. It's the best form of positive peer pressure that I've ever experienced. I see them working hard. I want to keep working hard.
I'm picking up new skills and new talents that if I just worked with my organization or I just worked in my department, we're all very similar, so I may have not picked that up.
People are beginning to see the power of collaboration. And they recognize that if they're going to have the kind of maximum impact, it's going to take other people at the table who can bring things to the table they can't bring.
When we work together, we create better opportunities for us to live at a very basic level in greater degrees of happiness and contentment.
Leaders in Akron, I think, more than anywhere else that I know of, see situations in the community, not just from their individual lens or through the lens of their organization, but through the lens of the whole community and what's best for the community. And that vision, that perspective, fosters so much of the collaboration that Akron is known for.
Wow, this is a great community. You know, it's big enough to have some good things happen, and it's small enough that people can make connections with one another and work together and know who else would be interested in this or what strength do we need.
They're dedicated, they're hardworking, they're trustworthy, and they're just plain nice. And it's easy to collaborate when you have people like that.
There is a love of this community. People want to give to this community. They feel it's theirs. They're excited about it.
A place where, you know, the generations could work together. And together they're working on a project. But the project is important, but what's even more important is that relationship. Because I think if you can use these community centers that are already there, the physical buildings are there, if you can bring the resources through collaboration to bear in these community learning centers so that you have these generations working together, I think that we have many of the things in place that it's doable 3 years down the road. But it does take that community spirit of everybody giving what they have to make it work.
It might not necessarily be in a bunch of projects. It's about the feeling of the place. It has a strong soul of the community that when you come here, you feel it as a place. It feels like a place you want to be.
So I would see us playing together. I would see us praying together. I would see us dreaming together. I would see us planning things together. I would see us saying, what is something huge, dynamic that we could do that would capture the attention of the world? And I think the biggest thing we can do is love one another.
If we truly have a collaborative community, when an opportunity comes around the corner, people are picking up their phones, calling one another. They're thinking about who can I work with to make this project or this initiative really sing and really be something great for our community.
The more that we line up behind some of these key issues that we're all working together to achieve, the more successful we'll be and the more Summit County will stand out as someone who's doing it differently.
Everyone needs to have access to influence and access to decisions and decision makers in order for our collaboration to continue into the future in this community.
Continued dialogue between the public and the private sector, between the political leadership and the organizations that are within the community.
We were in a meeting the other day and one of our friends said, words create worlds. And it's a lot about us all believing that it's all possible if we're working together and collaborating.
To build assets among people and individuals, organizations and others, and to share resources.
You have to have people invested in the process and participating in the process, all in the room together and actually talking to each other and going through that shared experience.
We put aside our personal agendas and push up front the agenda of the community.
The more that we know each other and recognize what everyone contributes to the community, the better we can collaborate.
You can't view your organization as the most important thing. You have to take a step back and not be so concerned about the ownership, but be concerned that it gets done.
Calling out to people's aspirations. You know, okay, here's where we're falling short. We need to name that, recognize it, and what can we possibly be? A lot of times my strength, and I need practical detail people to go along with this because I'm not as much so, but I'm a possibilitarian. And so bringing people together, and often you can get people excited about possibilities. They break through the political barriers, the religious barriers, you know, all the stuff that just gets in the way. Once I know I can trust you and you can trust me and we're gonna get there, we're gonna get there.
Again, as Kathy said, we do thank Mosher Media and all those people who interviewed and all those people who were interviewed. Just so you know, we've learned a lot because those interviews, that little 9-minute splice comes from about 8.5, 9 hours of interviews. And just, we've all come, especially the people who did this, to a deep appreciation of what editors do, film editors. Again, thankful because we have all those tapes from folks and we'll be able to use them in other ways in the future, different people who shared with us so well. At this time, as we move on, I'm going to introduce the introducer of our presentation today. Very briefly, Bob Refner, a lot of you know him, Vice President at First Energy Legal, and Bob's been involved on many community boards. He's certainly been involved in a variety of collaborations. He knows our presenter very well, and he's certainly the appropriate one to introduce him here and now. Bob.
I have the privilege of introducing Dan this morning. With the Kentucky Derby coming upon us, it reminded me of the role of introducer. As you know, championship horses oftentimes have a companion, a dog or another horse. If you remember the movie Seabiscuit, Seabiscuit had a dog named Pocatello and a horse named Pumpkin. Well, Dan's Seabiscuit, I'm Pumpkin. And I'm here to introduce him this morning. I remember sitting in a conference room at the Akron Community Foundation on a beautiful October Saturday in 1999 as chair-elect to the Greater Akron Chamber, then the Akron Regional Development Board. It was one of those crystal clear fall days in northeastern Ohio. The sun crossed the sky as we interviewed candidates to be the next CEO of the ARDB. Enter Dan Colantone. There he was, Kansas and Dayton behind him, all of us ahead of him, joined in the journey by Lori, his wife, and their son Luke. A Youngstown boy now looking to return home to northeastern Ohio. The business of economic development has its challenges. You alone cannot determine an outcome. You must find common ground with business, with philanthropy, and with government. And even when you're successful, some feel the capital investment in jobs would have happened anyway, even without your involvement. Dan arrived at the Chamber in February of 2000 and immediately got after the job. Within a year, he refocused the mission, changed the name, raised the dues, and moved the offices. While he says with pride it's the Akron Chamber, he all the while respects Portage and Medina counties, two important partners in the Chamber organization. He works at regional growth, while at the same time defending our Greater Akron interests. And if that weren't enough, every year or two he gets a new chair with new ideas on how the train ought to run. As you can see, economic development is all about community and all about collaboration. And Dan has been at the center. Whatever I believed about Dan on that crisp October day, I now even more deeply appreciate. Dan is as much about statesmanship as leadership. He can be direct and diplomatic and get something done without bruises. Dan naturally comes to community and to collaboration. And in that, the key to Dan is his spirit. You see, Dan's spirit is sustained by his faith. As Paul wrote in Colossians, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord and not for men. And that's Dan. So I present to you my friend, one of our own, my brother in a Christian walk, a great chamber, community, and regional leader, a man who believes in being heart to heart, Dan Colantone.
Wow. Good morning.
Good morning.
You know, this past year, I've been part of a book club. It was led by Father Norm and Larry. And we've been studying this book. It's called God is My CEO by Larry Julian. Now, you could say that my attendance has been inconsistent at this point in time, and in fact, it wasn't very good. And so like when I got this phone call and I see Father's name, I'm thinking, okay, he's going to be holding me accountable. Little did I know that he was going to ask me to speak to you today. I do want to thank Father Norm and Larry and the board for selecting me to be a part of this milestone. Yes, it is an honor and it is a privilege. 20 years, amazing. You hit another home run. And just look at this crowd. You know, the connection between everyone's inner spirit, ethical values, and daily work is being realized right here this morning and in our community. Another huge round of applause for Larry and Norm and the whole team for what they're doing for our community. Thank you, Bob. You're a mentor and friend. You know, I must share that I am overwhelmed by the pressure of following any one of the past 19 speakers that Father Norm mentioned. You know, as a matter of fact, Bob, your introduction is kind of better than my speech. So I guess the pressure is really on. In July of this coming year, Laura and I will be married 30 years. I am truly here because of her, and love that she's here praying for me right now. In fact, she's really glad this day is here. My staff, my team, man, we are the best. Just love you guys. It's just is absolutely amazing what you do every day. I know some of you, probably a lot of you, were at our annual meeting. 1,100 individuals just celebrating our community and the work of the chamber, our mission. And this team right here in front, I can tell you, every day, every single day, when I walk into that office, I'm so confident and just so excited to see them work for business and for our community. I want to speak today about the lessons that I've learned regarding collaboration that are more relevant today than ever as we celebrate these 20 years in Akron, as we prepare for what's next, as we all strive to make our community better. Today, it's time to celebrate collaboration. And collaboration is a good word. So what does it mean? A definition I would like to use comes from a Latin root. In short, it's to labor together. To labor together. Isn't that what we've been doing in Akron for many years? Isn't that what our peers in Northeastern Ohio and beyond admire about us? Isn't that what has made us the model for civic and regional collaboration? You know, the many comments from community leaders in the video and quotes on the leadership in the book of our tables speak to their and our hope for future collaborations, which will further enrich the quality of life and the spirit for everyone. I want to focus on my view of the key strategies for collective impact that will move the greater Akron community forward. So what are these key opportunities? Well, first, 130 community leaders, many on the Greater Akron Chamber's Board of Directors, met the last 8 months discussing our future, envisioning Greater Akron's future. And out of their innovative ideas and the teamwork that was developed through that time, we created a blueprint. It's called Advance Greater Akron. It's big and it's bold. In fact, our goal in the past 5 years was to impact our community with $1 billion of capital investment, collectively, as a team. In this plan, it calls for doubling, yes, doubling that to $2 billion as a community. It's based on a vision that we can all embrace. Every one of us in this room can embrace quality of life, a high quality of life for every citizen in our community. And that the most important thing we can do is concentrate on keeping, attracting, and creating jobs. Now, as CEO of the Greater Akron Chamber, of course, it's my MO. It's in my DNA. But what will it take to create jobs for every citizen, one family at a time? 3 areas I want to discuss: talent, innovation, and leadership. We begin with talent. Talent leads to creation and filling of jobs. New industries come from innovation, which create jobs. Yes, it will take education and skill development more than ever. Children and young people and adults need to stay on that continuum of learning. The days of stopping with a high school education, we all know, are gone forever. In fact, in 1971, 28% of all the jobs required some post-secondary education, some college. Today, 60% and growing. We know that creative and critical thinking are the 21st century skills, that science, technology, engineering, and math is what's most needed in the jobs of the future. Yes, we need to get people ready for school early. Yes, we need to get them through school and graduation, get them into college, trade shows, trade schools, and advanced training. Again, one family at a time. So what will college attainment mean to Northeastern Ohio and Akron? It means that for every 1% increase in post-secondary education, for Northeastern Ohio recognizes $2.8 billion of economic impact. And for Greater Akron, it's $500 million of economic impact. We see our future in talent. It's the #1 driver to our success. Now, when God made us, He gave us our shape, the acronym SHAPE. He gave us spiritual gifts, which is the S, the H for heart, the A for abilities, P for personality, and E for experiences. Our shape. This is where each and every one of us in the room, all of us, can make a difference, each and every day. It reminds me of over 30 years ago being in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I aspired to make a difference there. And 10 years after being there, Jim Valvano, coach and very successful leader, won the national championship with his team. And he came down with cancer. And he gave a speech, a very inspiring speech. Lots of what he said applies to us today. But one thing that I took away from hearing his speech was that ordinary people do extraordinary things. Ordinary people do extraordinary things. Our shape, who we are, what we're made of, we can. In fact, we have and we can continue to make a difference, one family at a time. The second key to our success will be innovation. In the area of innovation, the word that comes to mind is sacrifice. Sacrifice. There are many priorities in this category. I'm only going to mention a couple because they, to me, really resonate within this community in terms of what we are doing now, but what we need to do even better. We need to be creative entrepreneurial, much better at how we sell and promote our community, both to business and to talent. Our Akron city has great neighborhoods. We're filled with diverse housing. We have extensive suburbs, historic villages, lakes, parks. And at the very core, we have vibrancy. And thanks to our mayor, Don Plasquelic, and his leadership over the years, mobilizing all of us to support his vision, our vision, to building a vibrant urban core, to the many mayors around the region, building livable communities. Isn't that what we all want? At the end of the day, we want a good quality of place. We want good neighborhoods. We want parks. It's in our blood here in Akron. You know, we're known for invention and reinventing ourselves. Are we not? The latest reinvention has been a source around biomedical innovation. It's expected along the biomedical corridor, right here in our urban core, to see 3,000 jobs created. I would say that we can double that, maybe even triple that. It is about vision. It is about working together. It is focused on accelerating our collective strengths, our gifts, again, our shape, to make a difference. Entrepreneurship. We need to accelerate entrepreneurship to impact prosperity. You know, another collaboration that we're all proud of, and in many ways is what I believe 30 years from now, each of us in this room will be remembered by. It will be our legacy. It's around 3 words: health, education, and research. The work that we are doing in this community is stellar. It's got unlimited possibilities. Now, the strategies that I've just talked about very briefly goes back to demanding sacrifice, giving back more than we receive, giving up for the greater good. You know, it's going to require patience, perseverance, determination, continued focus, and teamwork. But you know, we know that tough times come along. We've had a couple of recessions, and tough times will continue. In fact, we have some challenges right now to accelerate much of what I've just shared with you. And I do believe it's going to take sacrifice from each one of us in this room. We must never give up, and I know we won't give up. But it will take everyone in this room working and supporting one family at a time. This leads me to the third area, and that's leadership. Leadership requires vision. And in this area, I want to emphasize relationships. Relationships. Loving on people, loving on others. You know, we're all caught up, I think, at least I know I am, I know many of you, you think about the technology advancements. You know, Father Norm, he talked about the internet and the iPhone and all the things, the social media that's impacting us every single day. Nothing replaces, in my judgment, relationships. Loving on people. Nurturing the relationships that you have or we have today. And I would challenge all of us, each and every one, to take the time to nurture new relationships. It's going to require leadership in a collective impact way with not just business, not just government, our elected officials, our education community, philanthropic. Every individual, it's going to take all of us kind of rowing along in the same, looking at the prize, which we know it's quality of life, we know it's jobs. We need to lead by example, and it starts with each and every one of us in this room. Leadership. It's by looking within our own journeys and our strengths that we see the connection with others. While knowing ourselves, we can validate our strengths. Knowing ourselves, again, and building those individual relationships, one-on-one, continuing to look at new opportunities to meet others across the table, to build and know what their gifts are. We are going to continue to impact one family at a time. You know, it also can make us humble. I got a whole speech, by the way, on humility, pride. You know, Bob shared the story back in 1999 and 2000. It actually reminds me of a story about 18 months into the job. You know, here I am, my wife and I, Lori and Luke, coming back home, man, coming back to Ohio. You know, I was CEO in Manhattan, Kansas, and had an opportunity to work with some great leadership there. And, you know, over the years, received experience and had mentors and was successful in Dayton and in Manhattan and in Raleigh. In fact, in all those communities, our board and our community, we were like Chamber of the Year. It was amazing, you know, and here I am coming back, man. I got some energy, man. I got some passion. We got the first 18 months. I know Larry Salino is here today. Bless you, Larry, for being our chair in that first year that I was here. And boy, we were rocking, right? In fact, Bob mentioned it, man. We were on the go, right? We kind of looked at a new type of brand. We started to build those existing relationships with our mayor, you know, with our county, with the education community, with the business community. We moved up to the 17th and 8th floor. We branded the organization. And I think something that you always remember, I know my team hears this a lot, you know, it's not about us, you know, and how do you sort of judge success, right? And so to us, it's about our customers. It's about our investors. You know, we had membership and investor support, we saw double-digit growth over that 18 months. So you can imagine, Bob Reffner's ready, and he's in his second year, getting ready for his final year as chair, and he sits down with me in a conference room and starts saying, why does the chamber exist? You know, what is our value proposition? Are we relevant? Asking all the right questions, you know, and obviously the honeymoon is over. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, man, come on, Bob. I mean, you know, I think about all that I or we as a chamber have accomplished. And so, you know, here again, just a reminder, another example and lesson about humility. You know, together, right now, here in this place and in this city, many of you, those who are not here, are coming together in all sectors and all groups across the community. They're accelerating. We are accelerating insightful conversations which will lead to solutions of our complex issues. You know, we have accelerated our cooperation through more partnerships, and we are working closer together than ever before. And yes, we are not worrying about who gets credit, but yet we're focused on the eye and looking towards the prize, the end game. Again, in this area of leadership, it is about relationships, and it's not about us. Over the past 4 years, we have all contributed to the greater Akron success of our community, and together we have achieved successful outcomes that have led to economic prosperity for the citizens of this community. Now, in the spirit of today, in the spirit of celebrating, we thought it was really important to share with you a video, just a few minutes, and I am going to close with a few closing remarks. So let's watch what we have collectively accomplished over the last 4 years in our community.
me like glue. Baby, I'm howling for you. Yeah. Throw the ball to the stick, swing and miss and catch us mid-strike too. Baby, I'm howling for you.
You know, I think that, you know, we don't celebrate enough. I know at our team monthly meetings, we talk about it and we just continue to move forward. It's important to celebrate, as we've been doing here this morning. You know, I have spoken just a little bit about the amazing things that we have been through and are accomplishing together through the synergistic power of collaboration. Yes, I've just briefly talked about key strategies in the areas of talent, innovation, and leadership, about the values that are critical towards accelerating prosperity of our community, one family at a time. For the next just couple moments, I want to conclude by shifting gears and share from my heart, on a personal level, about what fuels my values and passions for the future as a servant leader. Over the past couple of years, I've been on a journey that has charged my heart in a new way and has challenged me to answer the question, what are my true values and how do I want to complete my life's mission for which God has placed me on this earth? You that know me well are aware that my Christian faith is very important to me and influences how I live my life in the public arena. These past 2 years have deepened my spiritual life to where I can say without a doubt that my relationship with God is at my highest value. And as my love for God has deepened, my love for people and passion to be a servant leader has increased as well. Another value that heavily influences my daily decisions is to live my life with a moral compass which impacts my family, my marriage to my love of my life, Lori, and to you. You who have placed your trust in me in the marketplace, your trust in me to be the president of the Greater Akron Chamber. There are other principles that fuel my mission and passion, but I want to mention one final one that is the theme of this 20th anniversary celebration, and that is collaboration. There are many mantras that express our need for each other. United we stand, divided we fall is one of those familiar sayings. This holds true in every area of our service together. The truth is that the challenges are so complex and the opportunities are so great, it compels us to bring our individual gifts and collective resources to the marketplace so that transformation we long for will become a reality. In closing, I'd like to leave you with words from a billboard that was prominently displayed on I-77. Love God, love people, change the world. Thank you.
Dan, thank you. And thank you, too, for your efforts in helping to shape this event this morning. You didn't just show up to speak. He showed up to help us make this a fine morning. And on behalf of Heart to Heart, we'd like to make a contribution in your name to one of your favorite charities, Love Akron, and the good work that Mark Ford and so many others do for them. And we know they're very important, and you're a big part of that organization. So please accept this as our contribution to Love Akron on your behalf. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Larry Villeman, who, back in 1986, happened to meet this priest and start asking each other a lot of questions that neither of us could answer all that well, but we thought a whole lot of other people might help to answer, and that was the beginning of heart-to-heart communications. Good to be with you, and thank you so much, Mayor Don, and all that you've done for the community as exemplified in the videos here this morning. And once again, thank you for your presence here and the greetings, and of course, Dan's acknowledgement of you too, and your efforts on behalf of this greater Akron community and beyond. We thank you. And I know that you're waiting for the word for the day. Those of you who've been here for some of those 20 years know that I always ask my wife, honey, what's the word for the day? And I try to build on that a little bit very briefly. And the word she came up with when I asked her, honey, what's the word for the day? She said, exhaustion. I said, exhaustion? I said, I don't know if that word fits for this celebration. That can't be the word for the day. She said, honey, that's the word for my day. But we had a good laugh, as a result of which evolved a couple of thoughts for the day. One of the words is humor, and the other is tireless effort. You know, when she mentioned exhaustion, I was thinking, pretty much in the context of what Dan just talked about, of the time, talent, and tireless effort, exhausting effort, that so many wonderful people in this community have contributed to what we're all about. You know, Peter Drucker, the famous management guru and business lecturer, author, once said that the most effective leaders that he'd ever met, read about, or heard about didn't ask the question, what am I achieving? They asked the question, what am I contributing? Time, talent, tireless effort. I think that was demonstrated in the videos. It's demonstrated in the good work that Dan and the Chamber does. Some of the good works that so many of you are contributing to our community, for which we give you thanks and which we do celebrate. And thank you too, I know, on behalf of Heart to Heart and Father Norm and me and our board, for all that you've done for us and with us. Indeed, this organization along the way found us, and I'm so thankful. But I know you don't want to listen to me. I've just become the guy who introduces Carla Davis. And that's okay. Now, but Carla Marketing Communications Director for the Akron Summit County Public Library, just a wonderful lady who's always contributed her time, talent, and tireless effort. Once again is going to close out our morning. And she did ask me to mention that she is a member of Leadership Akron's mighty fine Class 29, is it? Some of them over here, okay. And with all respect to my friends from Class 15, she's going to sing with her son, Jason Davis. Jason is a retail associate. He aspires to own his own business and to study classical singing. And I had the opportunity to hear them over at Akron U when Terry Gordon spoke, and they're beautiful. And I introduced Jason Davis and his mother, Carla Davis. Come on up here and finish us out.
Wow, 20 years. What a marvelous celebration. And to look at the crowd that's here to celebrate. You know, we all had a joke and we say, you know, when Father Norm shows up on your caller ID, you know what your assignment is. You know you will have an assignment. And so we'd like to close out today with something that I think will sum up all that's been said today, calling us, all of us, up a little bit higher.
Time goes by, no need from the world we know, where the clear winds blow. Love lift us up where we belong, where the eagles fly on a mountain high. Love lift us up where we belong, far from the world we know, where the clear wind blows. Love lift us up where we belong.